Do you want to blow up your Airbnb business and take it from a side hustle to an empire?
Everything the light touches.
I scaled my business from just one Airbnb to over 75, generating more than £4 million a year and hosting over 18,000 guests annually. Well, let me tell you, the road to success is not a straight line. It's full of expensive setbacks, confusion, and stress.
Okay.
I've pushed through all these challenges, and so in this video, you're getting 15 of the secrets and lessons I wish someone had showed me so that your journey will be 10 times faster and easier. To start, let me show you how we actually need to think about the term scaling so you can 10x your business even faster. So think about it like this. Let's say you have one Airbnb and one cleaner. Your level of effort here is 1. But once you go up to say 6 Airbnbs, you have 6 properties times 3 cleaners, which equals an effort of 18. Now, most people would think that 6 Airbnbs is 6 times the work of 1, but the truth is it's not. When you get past 1 or 2 Airbnbs, you could actually end up with 18 times the work. And the only way to get around this escalating is to put systems in place to make it as easy as 1 times 1 again. This desert of growth from 3 to 10 properties roughly is a tough place to be. I was managing 2 properties myself while still working full time, and I was doing everything myself. The cleaning, guests, all the messaging, and it was fine. By the time I was at 6 properties, I'd left work to do this full time, but I had no time. I was completely stressed out. This is the desert. My business was too big to be small and too small to be big. So what does this mean for you? Well, think carefully about whether you're ready to walk into a desert and be stuck in the trenches for as long as it takes for you to push through. The sweet spot for me was when I got to around 10 properties. That's when things started to get easier again. But honestly, that dip is something that everyone on this journey is going to go through. I promise you, when you push through and get to the other side, it is worth it. Now, we're going to come to it in more detail later, but honestly, tech, systems, and people are the only way to reduce that effort and stay sane while you're growing. Which brings me on to the next lesson or mental shift I wish someone had prepared me for when I was growing. Now, when I stopped cleaning myself and when I stopped cleaning the properties myself and I got the pros in, I couldn't understand why they weren't doing as good a job as I was. Like, I was a 20-something bloke who couldn't even clean my own house that I lived in, but I did a fucking awesome job when it was for my business. I was under every sofa and bed, hoovering. I could spot short and curly hair from like 10 feet away. But these guys, who were supposedly the experts and were getting paid for it, just kept missing stuff. And it was the same as when I got help with responding to the guest messages. They didn't respond the way I would have. They didn't respond as quickly as I would have. Messages were coming in at midnight and like they were not getting replied to until the morning. God forbid. And the same for when we grew and I had to get people in to do the meet and greets for us. The meeters and greeters, they showed up late, they rushed through it, and they just left the guests feeling unwelcome. And that's when I came to the realization that once you start bringing people in to help you, it is inevitable that standards are going to drop. It is almost impossible to keep them as high as when you were doing it yourself. But it's also not possible for you to do everything yourself. So you need to learn to live with it and understand that your role, your job now is to manage the team and to try and improve those standards. And that brings us to the next big problem. Back when I was starting to grow and I was in that desert, we had 6 properties and I think most of them were either ranked on booking.com 10 out of 10 or 9.9. Like honestly, 4 out of the top 5 ranked properties in Belfast were ours. But then as we continued to grow, those review scores dipped. And honestly, it was super hard to take. We were used to being the best of the best. But when you think about it, if you only have a couple of Airbnbs, well then those couple of guests are the number 1 and 2 most important people in your world. You can give everything to them. But once you have like 8 groups in-house, it's impossible to be present and available for them all. But then I started looking at some of the best hotels in the world, like 5-star hotels. Even they have less than perfect reviews. Now yeah, if they were just like a boutique hotel with like 4 rooms, I'd sure they could go to 9.9. But once you get up into like 10 plus rooms, it is just impossible. You cannot maintain perfect reviews at scale. There are simply too many moving parts and too many things that can and will get missed. So what do we do about it? Well, first we have to let go of our obsession with 5 out of 5 and 10 out of 10. We cannot be the best and also the biggest because you're now operating at scale and perfection is impossible.
True story.
We have to live with the fact that good or very good reviews are good enough. And instead, we focus on building effective systems so that the likelihood of things going wrong is eliminated or greatly reduced. And now most people fail here because of one thing.
What is it?
When we all start out, we find a rhythm and a system of doing things a certain way. When I first started with no channel manager, when a booking booking came in on booking.com, I had to manually close it off on Airbnb. When a booking came in on booking.com, I used to copy and paste the template from my email drafts, put it in my email, send it, add in the bits and pieces obviously first. We used to do meet and greets for every set of guests that arrived. We used to arrange our cleaners a certain way. We used to do our bookkeeping a certain way. But every time we grew, the stuff just stopped working. And so the lesson here is systems need to constantly evolve. They're going to break, and then you need to either fix them or replace them with something else. Things that worked just fine when you had 2 properties now seem like a terrible idea when you've got 10. And so how do you get around this? Well, honestly, you need to be prepared to be constantly working on this. If something in your business is taking up a lot of time or it's causing you stress, it means the system is broken. If problems keep cropping up with a specific thing, it means you need a new system for it.
Out with the old, in with the new.
But honestly, try not to get upset when things like this come. It will feel like it's happening every day, but it's a good thing because it shows that you've outgrown the old system. And growth is what we're going here for. How do you end up not getting frustrated and annoyed every time that one of these breaks? Well, let me show you so you don't end up burning out and just micromanaging everything. And the key here is shifting your mindset. You're no longer doing this as a hobby, as a side hustle. You're a serious business owner here. Even if it doesn't feel like it on the inside, even if you feel like an imposter, you are. Now, when we were just messing around with 1 or 2 properties, it's very easy and normal to get stuck in what's called the weeds. That's like the bottom level stuff, the technical stuff, how you clean it, what are the messages being sent to the guests, your rates, all this sort of stuff. But now you need to start thinking like the business owner, and that's when you need to start thinking at a much higher level. Strategies, systems. So yeah, you're no longer messing around here. You need to start thinking like a business owner or an entrepreneur. And how do you do that? Well, there's obviously loads of books on how to do this, but there's a couple that I would 100% recommend. One is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and in it he talks about the shift from thinking like a worker, someone who has a job, to being a business owner, someone who runs and has the oversight and strategy of the entire business. And another book is Short-Term Rental Revolution, and specifically the processes part, my 4th P. Next, let's look at how we can put this into actual practice. Now, it is a simple fact that you cannot scale this business past, I think, 3 properties unless you're willing to give up some form of control and delegate tasks to other people. As your business grows and more properties are plugged in and the list of tasks stack and stack and stack, instead of thinking, how the hell can I cope with all this? You need to instead think, who can I get to help me with this? And a key thing here to think about is, imagine if you were to act like the laziest business owner in the world. If every task that came onto your plate, you said,
I can't be bothered with this. I need to get someone else to do this, and I'm willing to pay.
That is honestly the mindset that you need to be thinking, because the vast majority of the tasks in your business can be done by someone else. The key lesson here is that you, the business owner, need to work on the business, not in it. You need to have the mental headspace to be able to think about strategy, to manage the team, and to ensure that everything is getting done by other people. But how do you actually do that? Well, the key here is, once you've started plugging people in here, VAs or actual on-the-ground staff, you need to trust them to make decisions themselves. And that's a mistake that I made back when I started out. I had a guy working for me, and every time something went wrong, he brought the decision to me, and I had to make the call. He then went and implemented it. If it didn't go wrong, he brought it straight back to me. And I could not get any of my own thinking, my own work done, because I was just micromanaging him basically. Let your team make decisions. Things will go wrong, and when they do, don't shout at them. It's our job as the business owner to help steer the direction of the ship, to keep people motivated, to give them responsibility, to reward them when it goes well, and to support them when it doesn't go well. But just be careful here, because there's a hidden trap a lot of people fall into that you just need to be aware of. And when I was starting out back in the day to scale, there were no such thing as VAs. All I had was to employ someone on the ground. Now, we were a management company, and that was our avenue of scaling quickly, but we made our money from a percentage of the income from the client's property. But when I employed someone on the ground to help run the business, because it's the same amount of work as if we owned the property, after a while I realized this person is costing me 3 of our properties just to have this person here. And so remember, every time you hire someone, it comes directly out of your profit. So be very, very careful with your hiring costs. So what should you do? Well, the main thing is to automate as much as possible, which we're going to come to in a sec. But if you need to hire, well, then the first hire that you should make is going to be to a virtual assistant or VA. There are so many benefits to this. They're on contracts. They're often in different parts of the world where hourly salaries are cheaper than potentially where you are. They can be very specialist at the exact thing that you need them to do. And they're freelancers, so you don't need to worry about things like pensions, sick pay, holiday pay, all that. But there are some roles that it's impossible to find on Upwork and Fiverr. If you're scaling an Airbnb business, the one role that you absolutely have to have on the ground in your town or area is cleaners. If you're scaling, you absolutely will have to build a team of multiple people that will work on the same day at the same time. If you have 10 properties, I guarantee that every weekend you will have at least 7 changeovers on a Friday. And if your guests check out 11 and new ones check in at 1 or 2, you need at least 7 cleaners. Now, to give you an example, as we grew, we outgrew multiple people who were a little team, and we had to go to a bigger team, and then we ended up going with a proper agency. Now, that seemed great at the start because the agency was able to come in and say,
yeah, we've got like 100 cleaners, that's no bother whatsoever.
But there was actually lots of bother because they were sending people who had never been in our place before, didn't know all the unique bits and pieces in our place or the standard that it needed to be kept to, and so they were missing things and there were problems. And I, of course, would feed back those problems because it's having a negative impact on our reviews and our ability to earn future bookings. And it got to the point where sometimes their cleaners weren't even showing up. And it wasn't until we went down to check the cleaners' work that we realized no one had been there and our guests were arriving in half an hour. Now, with that feedback, the cleaning agency decided that we as a client were not worth the hassle, and they told us to F off on a Friday afternoon. That weekend, we had over 10 cleans scheduled of people leaving on Sunday and Friday and all that whole weekend, and they left us right in the shit. No notice, no warning, just gone. And so the lesson here is, as you scale, do not become too overexposed with one specific cleaning agency, because if they go pop or disappear, you are right in it. But how do you do that? Well, first let me say, cleaning issues never go away. We're at 75 plus properties. It is still probably the biggest headache that we have. But what we do is find trusted, reliable individuals. We pay them well, we give them a lot of work, and if they do a good job, we hold on to them super tight. And if they don't do a good job, they get cut and we replace them with someone else. Because honestly, there are enough things that you need to worry about in this business, enough plates to spin. And that actually brings me on very nicely to my next lesson. As you start to scale, you will realize that on a daily basis, stuff is getting broken, stuff is getting stolen, and stuff is getting just stinking. And the last thing you want to do is have some bespoke antique chair that when the leg falls off, you have to go to like Italy to go and get a new one handcrafted for. Or when someone breaks a wine glass, you have to like travel miles to some crystal maker to get a new one. It's too complicated, it takes too much time, it does not work when you're scaling. So having bespoke bits and pieces around your property is a recipe for disaster. When you're running a bigger business, time is of the essence with everything. Your VAs, your cleaners, your maintenance guys, they're gonna be stretched thin across all your properties. So you need to have like standardized stuff as much as possible. So like you have a storage space and it's like, these are the cups that we use in every property. These are the plates and the glasses and the cushions we use. This is the bed linen and the pillows we use. It's almost like specific brand guidelines for your business. So if something breaks or gets stolen or gets dirty, you can easily replace it from the storage space and the guests won't even notice because it's not different than anything else. Next up, I want to show you the lesson that is probably going to have the biggest impact on your business when you're scaling. Once you get to like 10 plus properties, you could have a literal human being sitting at a desk working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your email inbox still would not get to zero. All the messages that you need to send would not get sent. It's just too much. Like you could be employing someone full time just to do the cleaning rota for all your check-ins and check-outs. And then someone cancels or a last minute booking comes in and they have to start from scratch. I mean, you could spend an entire day fiddling with the rates for one property for the rest of the year. But of course you don't get 24/7. You get people who work half days, you get people who get sick, you get maternity leave. And so the lesson here is people are expensive and need days off. Tech is cheap and is always working. Like when you think about your rates, you need those rates to be as high as possible to maintain your profit. By not paying for the automation like Price Labs, it's going to adjust that so many times per day to keep it as high as it can be, you're missing out on absolute thousands over the month. All the automation like messages and cleaning schedules, maintenance, there's so many things, reporting, bookkeeping, all the stuff the channel managers in particular, like guests they offer, are going to save you so much time and therefore so much money. Things are going to run smoother, things are going to get done quicker and better. So you absolutely cannot scale a business without investing in tech and automations. The next thing you need to think about when you're scaling is to become very picky with the properties that you bring on. You might be hungry to grow, Be getting properties thrown at you, but it's important to not drop your standards, because you'll very quickly realize that a badly performing property takes up just the same amount of time to run, if not more, than a good one. Guests are going to be less happy with it, bookings are going to come in much slower, your rates are going to have to go down to attract the bookings into it. It's stress and hassle that you just don't need. And so the lesson here is work smarter, not harder. But how do you do that? We've touched on it already, but your time is exceptionally precious now that you're scaling your business. Do not waste it on properties that are not going to give you a good return on that time invested. And it's not even just your time. The team that you've now built is going to be spread thin, and you do not want a poorly performing property dragging that team towards them, wasting time. And that brings me on to the next lesson. Once you start to grow and people start to take notice, deals and opportunities and properties are going to come your way. It's all very exciting. People are going to start offering you their property to manage for them. And if you're already doing that, great. You know what you're doing. Keep your standards high. People are going to offer you rent to rent. Maybe you're already doing that. Maybe it's completely new. All of this is scary but exciting at the same time. I just want to say, be careful with the shiny objects that appear in front of you. It's important that when you're scaling a business to be brave but not reckless. And so what does that mean? We'll definitely try new things, be curious, investigate things. Don't just say no to things straight away, but don't take your eye off the ball. Don't stop doing what's working and what's got you to where you are now. And that means saying one of the most powerful words that we have as a business owner, and that's no. You do not have to accept every property that a potential client gives you. You do not have to pitch or submit a bid for a rent-to-rent deal that comes up. You just don't need to do it. If it's not the right time, say thank you, but no thank you. Now this next lesson, it might not even be on your radar yet, but trust me, when you're in that trench, it definitely will be. Now once you get into that dip, somewhere between 3 and 10 properties, might be different for you, life is gonna get hectic. Now if you followed all these lessons so far, it might not be as hectic for you as it was for me, but it's still gonna be a trench. It's still going to be a dip where you're sitting thinking, what the hell am I doing? Because if you don't have effective systems in place, you're going to have no time whatsoever. And if you systemize the shit out of absolutely everything, you might have time, but you're going to have no money. And that's the balancing act. That's the seesaw that us as business owners sit on. In my opinion, I'd rather have all the time in the world, like total time freedom, and sacrifice a fair amount of money for that. Because in my opinion, the goal of any business is not to have a job, it's to allow me as the business owner to live my life exactly how I choose. I want a business where I don't have to do anything, where I get to do whatever I want. If you don't have that, well then, it sounds harsh, but your business is broken. Now I'm not talking about when you're in that dip, in that desert, but your goal should be a fully automated business where you check in with a couple of VAs, check a dashboard, see what's happening, and that's it. You should be able to go away on holiday and come back and have actually more money in the bank than when you left. Now you won't get there right away, but that should be your guiding light, your North Star. That's what you're aiming at. And once you get to like 10 plus properties, you're gonna be very close. So what are you supposed to do all day when you're working on the business but not in it? Well, to be blunt, there was always another shitstorm around the corner. These things come in seasons. Some seasons you're literally sitting on a beach with nothing to do for weeks or months, and in other seasons you're back firefighting, someone's left, someone's sick, property's blown up. I don't know. Because the bigger the business gets, the higher the stakes get. Think of it like playing a video game. Every time you level up, the baddies get tougher too. The game is always hard, but it's harder in different ways. You're not getting mixed up with all the beginner stuff. There's like bosses now that you gotta worry about. So what do? Well, you should always be investing in your personal growth, trying to develop yourself as the business owner, as a human being, as a leader, so that you're always ready when these things come around the corner at you. And this next lesson is going to help you turbocharge that personal growth so much quicker. Now look, running any business is hard. Even if you're at 1 or 2 Airbnbs now, I'm sure it's hard, and I'm sure it feels a little bit lonely as well. But the bigger and the more profitable you get, the less your friends and family are going to have any idea what you're going through, what you're struggling with, what you're freaking out about. They just can't comprehend it. Maybe they're in full-time jobs, maybe they've got a small little side hustle, but you're going for the moon here, and that's a different gravy. So the lesson here is to please find yourself a coach or a mentor, someone who has walked the walk already and can help guide you through. And I'm not just talking about professionally either, like here's how to get properties, here's how to get the best rates. I'm talking about personally, because it can be scary and lonely to build a business. You feel the weight of responsibility of the team that all relies on you. You feel potential for all your clients, for your family, for your business's reputation. It's tough. I've been using a business coach for 5 years, started during COVID, and like the ability to just be vulnerable and say, oh, I'm a bit worried about this, or I was thinking about this, do you think that's a good idea? It's just invaluable. Now, this is not a pitch, which, yes, I can be your coach if you want. You can send me an email, but trust me, just get someone who has been through where you are, has been through the desert of growth, has been through any dips multiple times. You will need them as you grow. The mindset piece is so important here. And like, I used to do psychology before, so I know how important it is. A good mindset can absolutely turbocharge you forward. A bad one where you've got negative self-talk can absolutely torpedo your business. And for that reason, the next video you need to watch is this one, where I talk about the 10 personality traits that's going to help you get to where you need to go as an Airbnb juggernaut. I'll see you there.